Hi everyone, Nicholas Buffett is here from Sunny Cyprus and welcome to today's tutorial. This is one of the most requested tutorials right now because a lot of you are going to be sitting the 0417 ICT GCSE examination in a few days from now. And this is on 2020-24 November paper 2. Guys, this paper is a beast. It's going to test nearly 90% of the required skills for this component. There is so much work to do here in a limited amount of time. So if you are going to be taking this examination, this is a good paper to watch. This is a paper which is going to demonstrate for you a lot of the skills that you need, but I'm also going to be explaining some of the concepts and some variations of questions. So this is a really good paper as far as the paper 2 is concerned. So we're going to get started with this ASAP, but before you continue watching, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, and let's get started. Okay, let's get started by looking at the question paper. So we start off by checking we have the correct resource files, and we have all of those resource files saved in a folder. And here it is. I've got a folder here called N24P2, and I have all my resource files here. Next, evidence document, task 1. We're going to be opening this file here. Make sure that your name, center number, and candidate number will appear on every page of this document. Doesn't say where, so I can use header or footer. Save this document in your work area as evidence, capital letters evidence, followed by our candidate number, your candidate number, for example, evidence 9999. You will need your evidence document during the examination. Okay, so first step, let's go make that evidence document. So this is that one there. So we're going to open this up in Microsoft Word. I'm just going to use the header section to enter my details, center number, candidate number, double click in here, file, save as, and just save this in the same location. What you have to make sure is you're saving this as a Word document. Okay, and just call that evidence, all capital letters. Actually, doesn't matter. I forgot to put my candidate number, so I'm just going to go do that there. I'm just going to close that. Here is my document. I'm just going to rename that and just put 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so there's my evidence document there, renamed. Right, task 2, document. You're going to edit a document about organic farming. The company uses a corporate house style for all their documents. Paragraph styles must be created and applied as instructed. Number 1, using a suitable software package, open this particular file here. So this is the one I'm going to be working on. I want to see how I'm going to save it. The page setup is set to A4, landscape orientation, 2 centimeter margin. Do not make any changes to these settings. I'm going to check and make sure those settings are applied, however. 3 paragraph styles have already been created. Do not make any changes to these and save it with this name here. So I'm just going to save that. Make sure it's saved in the format of software you're using. Placing your evidence document a screenshot to show the file has been saved. Okay, so let's jump back. I'm going to open my document 2402 organic. There it is. And I'm simply going to go to File, Save As again. Change that to Word document. I'm going to change that to organic. I don't need my details after that. So I'm just going to click on Save. Now I'm going to go to my folder. I'm going to take a screenshot of this. And then again, guys, I know I'm using dark mode. Please don't use dark mode. Now, this screenshot for me is a good screenshot. Why? Because it's actually displaying the extension of the file name, of the file type, and that's what it asks for. So if you don't have this extension here, then you're going to have to go one step further. The best thing to do is expand this so it shows clearly it's a Microsoft Word document, but at the same time you can right click up here on any one of these tags, on these labels at the top for the columns, go to more, scroll down to File Extension, File Extension, there it is there, and click OK. And now you've got the extension here. Okay, so that just makes sure you've got the extension displayed in that screenshot. So I'm just going to create a new screenshot and do that. And I'm going to add this now in evidence. As I said, please don't use dark mode and make sure when you do print, everything is readable. Save that and minimize. Right, remove any page breaks from the organic document. All right, that's the next step. So to basically find where they are and if there are any page breaks, what we're going to do from the home ribbon here, we're going to look at this button here. This is the show hide button. And this thing will basically show all the invisible or the special characters in our document, things that we don't see when we print the document, things like the enter and the spaces. So if I click on that, as I scroll down, you can see all of these symbols here. That's where I've entered the new paragraph or pressed the enter key. And these little dots in the middle, these are the spaces. Okay, so we can actually see them now. So if I scroll down in my document, I'm going to see if I have anything which, there it is. Can you see that there? That's a page break. It actually literally says page break. Now, the page break, although it's this long, it's only one character. All of that line that I've got highlighted now is one character. So I can select it and press delete. I can click in front of it and press delete. I can click at the end of it and press backspace. So treat it like any normal letter. So I'm just going to press backspace. And now you can see my document has moved up. Let's see if we've got, oh, here's another one here. Can you see it? Right there. So again, this time I'm going to place my insertion point there and I'm going to press delete to delete from the front. There we go. And that's it. There are no other page breaks. Great. So I'm going to remove the show hide button like so and move over to the question paper. Okay, place in this document a right aligned header with automated page numbers, a right aligned footer on a single line with the text guide produced by, I'm going to copy that, followed by a space, then your name, center number, and candidate number. Okay, so I'm going to double click in the header section here. I'm going to, there's many ways you can do a right align. I'm just going to use the classic from here, jump over here, right aligned, and I'm going to put automated page numbers. So from here, if I go to my header and footer ribbon, I've got page number. Now, you can do from here, top of page, and it's got here right aligned. Or I always like putting my insertion point where I do want something to be placed, and then I can simply go to current position. And because I already right aligned, it's in that current position. Down here, again, I'm going to right align. That's one way. Let me just show you another way. The other way is from here, you can actually, from your header and footer, insert an alignment tab to the right. That will jump over to the right. And now I'm going to paste my text. And the guide produced by that space. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 7. Okay, so both of those right aligned. It then says, make sure that all of the footer details are on a single line. Okay. The header and footer are aligned to the right margin of the page. No other text or placeholders are included in the header or footer areas. The headers and footers are displayed on all pages. Great. Well, I've done that already. And essentially when it says make sure that everything is aligned with the margins of the page, what we can see here, this is the margin of my page right there. So if we look at where my ruler is at the top here, that's where the text is. And we can see that the headers and the footers are aligned with that margin. They're not further in the margin or further behind the margin. So that's great. Number 4, select the subheading, what is organic farming? And the following text up to and including the paragraph ending to look after the license. So I can straight away see here what is organic farming. So I'm just going to select a little from the beginning of that and just let go. So I know where that is. And now I want to find the paragraph that ends to looking after the license. So I'm looking at the end of each paragraph. there to looking after the license. That be there. So I'm now going to hold Shift and click at the end of that, and that's going to select everything in between. Okay. Change the page layout so that only this text is displayed in 2 columns of equal width with a 1.5 centimeter space between the columns. All right. So if we go back, there's my selection. I'm going to go to Layout ribbon, Columns, More Columns, 2, and I'm going to increase the space to 1.5. It doesn't say anything about having a line in between, so I'm not going to add that, and click OK. And that's what my document looks like now. All right, looks pretty much okay. Jump over question paper. Number 5, sort the bulleted list from mixed crops all the way to as compost and green manure into alphabetical order. Okay, something we don't normally see in a word exercise, but okay. So here's my mixed crops list all the way up to here as compost and green manure. So to sort this out, this isn't really hard. After selecting your data, if you go to the home ribbon, you've got here the A to Z button there, right up here in your menu area. And if I click on that, it's going to ask me, what do you want to sort by? Well, I'm sorting by paragraphs, and paragraphs why? Word will apply a bullet to every paragraph. So this list here is actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 paragraphs. And now I'm going to choose whether I want this ascending or descending. So ascending is going from A to Z. If you think of A being number 1 and Z being 26, then we're going in ascending order from the smallest to the highest. Click OK. And as soon as I do that, you're going to see this is going to mix around, probably putting biological pest control first because it begins with a B. There we go. So that now has been sorted into alphabetical order. Number 6, format this list so that star-shaped bullets replace the existing bullets. The bullets are indented 2 centimeters from the left margin. As I said, this paper is going to test, there's a lot of different little skills that you have to have, and it's going to test most of them. So the first one here is I'm going to make sure I've got my list selected, and I want to change the bullet from a solid disk to a star. So from here, I'm going to go to from my home ribbon, go to the bullets, click on the little down arrow there, and I'm now going to define a new bullet. Now, I've already got one in my bullet library here, but you probably don't. This is a recent one I used. So I'm going to go to define a new bullet. From here, I'm going to choose symbol. And you're going to get this dialog box here. And in here, you can find practically anything. One of the most useful ones to use for symbols like stars and moons and arrows is usually windings. So if I go down to W, but just looking in any one of these, you'll find something. So there you go. There's my star there. That's it's actually not the same star. This is a 6-pointed star. It's actually got a 5-pointed star. There it is there. Okay, and in wingdings, you can see there are so many different symbols that you can find. Okay, so I'm just going to click on that, click OK, and there it is. Now, the next step, it said it has to be indented 2 centimeters. There's 2 ways to do this. The one method is with my text selected, I'm moving this up, so I'm close to my ruler at the top. Now, if you don't have the ruler, simply go to View menu and make sure the ruler here in the ribbon is ticked. Okay, if it's not, you don't get the rulers. And I can see here is where my 2 centimeters is, where the number 2 is. So I can click with this selection already selected, click and drag that so the stars are underneath the 2. That's it. 2 centimeter indent. The correct way, however, to do this is with this selection already selected, you can go to Home, go to the Paragraph dialog box, and then for the left indent, just increase that to 2 centimeters. Click OK, and there you go. Exactly the same thing as before. But 2 ways in case you forget one of them. It's number 6 done. Let's go to number 7. Right, it says here, create and store the following style, basing it on the default normal paragraph style. It says take a screenshot to show that you define the settings of this. Make sure there is evidence that you have based this on the default normal style. Place this in your evidence document. Okay, once again, as always, whenever we're creating styles, we need to make sure we know where the insertion point is in our document before we create the new style. So currently my insertion point, well, I've got this area here selected. I'm just going to click always, this personally me, I click on the very first line at the top, which is usually the title, and I can see clearly if I open my manager here, this first line has got the of title style applied to it. So that's very easy for me to remember, so I can change it back. So to create the new style, I'm going to click on the plus, new style. I'm going to type the name of the style. Style type paragraph, right? So style based on, I want this normal. It actually says of title because that's where my insertion point is. So I need to change that to normal. For the style for following paragraph, you don't need to change this, but I like just changing that to normal. Then we do the formatting. So I want a serif font. Serif font is Times New Roman. I want size 22. I want this to be center aligned, bold, italic, single line spacing. Well, this one here is for the single line spacing. And then space before, 0 space after, 4. So I'm going to go to format, paragraph, space before is 0, space after is 4. Let's just change that to 4. Points, not pixels. And there's the line spacing, single line spacing there. We can see it. Click OK. Now, this is basically my style set up, but I cannot use this as a screenshot because at the top it says create new style, which means I haven't created it yet. So I'm going to click on OK. Now, can you see it's applied this new style to my title? I don't want that. But because I already know this is supposed to be of title, I'm just going to click it there. And that's why you need to know where your insertion point is beforehand. All right, so now from my manager, I'm going to go to the of subhead. I'm going to click on the little arrow here, modify, and this is a screenshot which I can use. So if I just do that, and I can use this one because it's got here the modify style, which means I've already created it. And I can put that now there. Okay, so that goes into my evidence document, step number 7. Okay, let's go over to, let's just do a quick save, file save. Number 8, identify the 5 subheadings in the document and apply the of subhead style to each one. Okay, so let's go do that. So I'm just going to use the control button for multiple selections. Here's my first one. There, let's just get rid of that. And then there's another one. So I'm going to hold the control button and click there. That's 3, 4, and this one here, 5. Okay. So now I can go here and just change all of these to subhead. They look like so. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Perfect. Locate the table in the document, delete the entire column and contents with the heading 2014. Then it says format the first row of the table so that it becomes a single cell with the contents center aligned over the 4 columns. Format the table so that the table width is set to 10.5 centimeters. The table is centered within the column width. All text in each row displays on one line. Okay. So here's my table. The first thing I want to do is to delete the 2014 column. Now, I'm not just going to click and drag like this because that only selects, if I press delete, only deletes the data. So I'm going to place my mouse slightly above the column and you're going to see it turn into a down arrow like this. When I click now, I can now right click. From here, I can go to delete columns and that column is now deleted. Then it says format the first row of the table so it becomes a single cell. So I want to merge these cells here. Now you can use the right click again and merge cells. I prefer this method, so I'm just going to use that. Right click is always helpful. But whenever you select something, you've also got your table design up here, and your table layout buttons, which will allow you to do things like split cells, merge cells, and do the designing, the alignment, and everything. Whatever you decide, whatever's best for you. Now, the next one says we need to format the table so that it's 10.5 centimeters and centered within the column. So if I click up here, if I click in my table, I see this little corner one here, this little cross at the top left corner of my table. I'm just going to click on that. That selects the table. Now, when I go to my table layout, you can actually do this with the right click, I think. Can you? Yep, there you go. You've got table properties. Or from table layout, but this time we'll go to properties, and we see this. Now, from here, we can align this to be in the center. That's the first one. Preferred width, it said 10.5 centimeters. And click OK. There we go. Our table now is 10.5 centimeters wide, and it is aligned in the center of that column. Format only the paragraph that starts a physical barrier, only that paragraph. The text is indented to 1.5 centimeters from both left and right margins. It displays an external 3 to 4 point black border. It has a light gray 15 to 35 background fill. Okay, so a physical barrier we're looking for. So if you can't find it easily, I'm just going to press Control F on my keyboard, like so. And I'm looking for a there it is. So I want this paragraph. I'm just going to click 3 times to select the paragraph, and I can get rid of that now. So from here, I want, with this paragraph selected now, I want to indent it. So it has 1.5 centimeter indent on either side. So here's my paragraph dialog box up here. Left indent 1.5, right indent 1.5. Click OK. So that's the first part. The next part is I want my borders from the home ribbon. You've got here where you've got your fill color and the borders. I'm going to click on the borders. I'm going to go to borders and shading. And I'm just going to leave a solid line, this one here. And I'm going to make that, it says between 3 and 4. So I'm just going to make that a 3-point thick line. And I'm just going to add that around my paragraph. There we go. And then for the shading, I want between 15 and 35%. So if I put my mouse here, that's a 15%. This one is 25%. So I'm going to use that one. That's between 15 and 35. So there we go. That part's finished. Right, spell check and proofread the document. Make sure that the list and table are not split over 2 columns. There are no widows or orphans. There are no blank pages. The original styles are maintained. Spacing is consistent between all items. So let's just have a quick look at, I like doing this to see what my document looks like. It's much easier. So let's have a look. So here we go. So basically what I've done, I've zoomed in, was actually zoomed out, so I can see my pages side by side. And that looks really good. The spacing is consistent. I don't have any widows or orphans. Great. We save this, file, save. And of course, at the end, you're going to be printing off your document. Let's move on. Okay, so task 3, databases. So it starts off by saying dates must be imported in the format day, month, year, DMY. We're going to see where we implement that in a second. So it says, using a database software, import the file, this one here, N2402 students.csv as a new table. Use these field names and data types. So we need to just check this table and understand all the little details that we need to add on the different data types. For example, here we've got the display of the date has to look like this. Okay, age, October 24 is an integer. Right, and then it says set roll number as a primary key. Save the data. So let's get started with that. First step, I'm going to create my database file. So I'm going to right click my folder, new, access, simply to quickly create it and save it in the folder with all my other files. And then I'm just going to enter that name and open access. Okay, from here, we're going to go to external data, new data source from file, text file. we're going to browse to find our file. Now, my one opens up directly in the folder where I've got my database saved. If it's not, then you will simply browse to find your file in the correct location, find your folder, and here's my one here, N2402 students.csv. I'm going to open this, move to OK. From here, I have a look. I see this data that we can see in this window here. It is readable. It's not giving me the symbols of a corrupt file with like loads of question marks and symbols and stars. And so this is readable. That means my file is not corrupt. If this data is not readable and it's totally messed up and you think there's something wrong, make sure you raise your hand and ask for help. Next. So comma is going to be the delimiter. That's what's basically separating each column. And the first row contains field names. That's a must because we're creating a new table and all tables must have field names or column headers. So since they're telling you to import the file as a new table, then the first row will have the field names or the column names at the top. I'm going to go to next. And this is where I'm going to set up my data types. I'm going to go to advanced. Now from here, we can also see here that date, times, and numbers, date order is DMY. So that's a good one to make sure, okay? Because it says we should be importing our tables with the date formats DMY. So this is where you make sure of that. If it's not DMY, then you want to click this and change it to DMY. For example, you might have MDY, and that's going to change the month, date, year, instead of day, month, year. So let's just change that to DMY. All right, next, I'm going to check my data types. So the course code is short text, last name, first name and gender and nationality are all text, okay. Then DOB is date, month, year. I'm not going to worry about the formatting yet. I'm going to do that a bit later on. Roll number and telephone number is text, so telephone number should be text. Telephone number is always going to be short text. We only leave things as numbers if we're going to be using them in a calculation or something. Email, age is a number, good. And that's going to be an integer, so that's good, it's an integer. And then email is short text. Right, so we don't have any decimal values. If you did have any decimal values, you would have to now say that it's a decimal value. If you make it an integer now and try and change it later, it's too late. You've lost the decimals. All right, so I'm just going to click on OK. Next. And the primary key is going to be the roll number. That's what it said. And click on, and we can actually see this data, what it looks like here. Okay. Click on finish. And close. So this has created the table for me. And the good thing is it's only created one table. If you get more than one table, you get another table which says import errors. You've done it wrong. You need to delete both of them and start again. So let's open this table. There it is. And we're now going to go to Home, Design View, and the only thing that I want to change is the DOB here. And if I go to the bottom, down here where it says Format, I can choose this date format which it said. So that one there. Okay, we can have a look at that here. So you can see that's the date format it wanted. Okay, great. All right, so let's just go back and click on Save. Actually, yeah, that's good. I'm going to take a screenshot while I'm here. So I can just click on Save. I'm going to take my screenshot as well. And I need to take a screenshot that looks like this. What am I looking for? I'm looking for the name of the table. I'm looking for the primary key symbol here. And I want to make sure that all of these are visible. Nothing is cut off. Okay. So that's a good screenshot. Let's go throw that in number 14. A bit smaller, but it's a bit big. Let's move 15 down. Good. Control S, save that, and go back. Okay, so we've done number 14 there. We've done the evidence document showing the screenshot. We're now going to import the next table. Import the file N2402 degrees as CSV as a table in your database. Now, we're going to have a look at the details. So these are text. This one's an integer. And this one here, duration, is a decimal and must be set to 1 decimal place. So we need to be careful with that one. And then this one here is a yes, no field and must display yes and no. Subject code is going to be the primary key. So let's go import that one as well. Okay, so we can close this one. We finished with that one. We're going to go to external data, new data source, from file, text file. We're going to browse and we're going to find the degrees. There it is there. We're going to click on OK. Again, make sure that this data here, you can actually read what's inside there. First row contains field names. Yes, because we're creating a new table. Next, here is the details. So I'm going to go to advanced. Again, there's no date here, so I don't need to worry about the date order, but it's always good to make sure it's consistent. So I want faculty code, faculty and degree type as text, level is number integer. So that's text, text, text. This is an integer. I don't bother with normal integers, short integers. I only use long integers just to be safe. It doesn't matter. You're not losing marks. The only difference is that an integer will save numbers only up to 32 plus or minus 32,000, whereas long integers will allow much larger numbers. And as you don't know what kind of data you're going to be storing in there, it's safer to use long integers. Degree code, and subject is text. Okay, now duration is a double. You can use single, that's fine. But whether you use double or single, it doesn't matter. But you have to make it double or single. You can't make it an integer because you will lose the decimal values at the end. And then the last one is a Boolean logical, so it's going to be a yes/no field, the work experience. Great, I'm going to click on OK. Next, for this, I want the subject code as the primary key. Click Finish. And I should just get one more table. There it is. So now I'm going to double click on this one. Home, Design View, and let's just go make some modifications. So the only one I'm really concerned about the two is the duration and the work experience. So I'm going to go to duration. It's a number. And down here it says double. Now, if we have a look at this right now, there it is. Here's the double column here. We can see we've got numbers 3, 2.5, 2.53, 4.5. So some of them have got the decimal place, some don't. So if I go back to Design View and I make this decimal places 1, and I save this and show this, again, it's not going to work. If this was, say, 3.55 or 3.54, then it would actually only have 3.5. But because these ones here are 0.0, 3.0, 5.0, it's not displaying the 0.0. And it says it has to because it says 1 decimal place. So I'm going to go here where the format is, and I'm going to change that, that one, to fixed. So we've got the format set as fixed and the decimal place as 1. So now when I save and run this, we can see it's showing 1 decimal place. So it's got the 0.0 there as well. So that's perfect. We can see work experience is using a checkbox. We don't want that. So we're going to click on work experience. And down here in the format, we're going to change that to yes, no. And then for the lookup, we're going to change it from a checkbox to a text box. When we save that and run it, we get yes and no. So my 2 tables have been imported. I'm just going to take a screenshot evidence of this one as well now. Some people forget the second screenshot, which is no good. Again, make sure that all of these things are visible, the name, the primary key, all the fields. Go here. And I'm going to place this there because it's still part of number 14. In fact, I'm going to move step 14 down. Like so. Good. Quick save, file save. Now we're going to create a one-to-many relationship between the subject code field in the degrees table and the course code in the students table. Place this in your evidence document. That's number 15. Let's jump over here. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to close this. Now notice I never have anything open in Access. If you're not using something in Access, make sure you close it because it can cause issues. So the first thing I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to database tools. I'm going to go to relationships. Now, if your version shows you these default or these predefined relationships which Access creates, just ignore them. I'm just going to scroll so they go vanish away. I want to add these two tables. If you don't have, if you can't see this area here to add your two tables, you can right click anywhere in this blank area, show table, and it appears. So I'm going to click to add both of these tables. I'm just going to expand these. So I'm going to click and drag this over here. There we go. Now I can't use this as my screenshot because it says create. This button here has the word create, which means I haven't created it yet. So I'm going to click on create, and there's my relationship. Now, is this a good enough screenshot? Possibly yes, but I wouldn't risk it. I'm going to make sure I double click on this line to now reopen this dialog box. And now it says here, edit relationships. That basically means the relationship has been created. Okay, so I'm going to take a screenshot of that. Perfect. And I'm going to go put that in my evidence document. Just make that bit smaller. As long as it's readable and it's clear for the examiner to see. I think that's good enough. Yeah, perfect. Okay, I'm going to click on OK. I can now close my relationships. Do I want to save? Yes, I do. Okay, so number 16, we have to produce a tabular report, so not labels. And we're going to read through this to see what it is we have to do and just identify what we need to do in the query section and what we need to do in the report part. So I'm going to identify the parts for the query first. It says selects the records where subject includes the text organic. So that's going to be part of the query. That's another part of the query, 25 or more. Shows only the fields first name, last name, so on and so forth. We don't have to create a new field which is calculated at runtime. So this, I'm going to say I'm going to be doing this again in the query, but I'm also going to be checking it afterwards in the report to make sure I've got everything in the right order. Sorts the data into descending order of degree. Now this I'm not going to be doing in the query section. I'm going to show you both methods. Has a page orientation, that's the report, single page report. So all of these things here report. So the only part I need for the query is this first part here. So the way I tend to do this I always do this part first, where I go add all my fields, which I want first in the right order, and then I apply the criteria. So let's get on with that. So I'm going to go to create, and I want query design. There's my query design. So I'll just close these properties for now. I don't need them. And if you don't see the to add table section, again, you can right click, show table. There's that. I'm going to add both tables. Okay, because the question paper says you're going to create a tabular report from both tables. Let's just bring this up a bit so it's a bit easier for you guys to see. There we go. All right, so I'm going to add my fields, first name, last name, date of birth. So here we go, first name, last name. In the order it tells me, date of birth, telephone, age, telephone, and age October 24, duration, degree code. Duration is over here, degree code is there. Subject and work experience. Subject and work experience. So I'm just going to do a quick count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 fields. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Correct. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to apply the criteria. So it says subject includes the text organic. Now I always have a look at my data before I do any of the criteria. So I'm just going to click on run. And there we go. So I'm just going to expand the subject and see what we've got. What is it? Yeah. So if we have a look at here, this is like short text. And I want it to include the word organic. So here you can see here the word organic here. Okay, so that's good. So I'm just going to be looking for it. So I'm going to go to design view. And under my subject, I'm going to put, because it needs to include the text organic, it means organic can be anywhere in that string of text, the beginning, the end, the middle part of a word. So I'm going to put like star, organic, star. Now, this basically means if I was to put, for example, like star organic, it will find all the ones that end in the word organic. Let's have a look at that. This is just ending in organic. So you can see here the word organic is at the end of that string. Now, it didn't say it has to be, it's looking for the word organic. It said it's looking for the text. So it could be anywhere in a word. So these are all the ones that end in organic. If I wanted everything that begins with the word organic, then I would have organic asterisk, because it could be anything after the word organic. Let's have a look. There you go. All of these begin with the word organic. But I want all the ones that contain organic. So I want star, organic, star. And this should show all of those. So you can see here, I've got organic at the end. I've got it in the middle. Perfect. And this one here, it's got organic only in the middle of that text. So that one's done. Then I want the age, October 24, is 25 or more. Now, I do tend to get distracted sometimes because I'm talking while I'm doing these exercises. I do tend to make some mistakes. So I'm just going to go back to design view and just make sure I'm in the right place. Now, age, October 24 is 25 or more. There we go. So 25 or more is greater than or equal to 25. And now we're just going to run this and make sure it's correct. There we go. So age is 25 or more only. And you can see the amount of data I've got now, the records is reduced. Great. So that's basically the query part. I'm just going to click on save and I'm going to call that Q16 for question 16. Click OK. And now we can go back to our question paper and see what we've got to do. So we've done basically the query part. We're not going to do the sorting, ascending or descending right now. You're going to see why as I go through the tutorial. I do prefer to do this in a different way. So we're going to move on. So we've done that. We're going to go and create now the report. So let's go back to our Access. We need to close this now. Remember, if we're not using something, get rid of it. And I'm going to go to Create Report Wizard. Now, from here, I need to make sure I select my query. I'm going to add all the fields. I'm going to go to Next. Now, sometimes students ask me, which one of these two do I choose? Well, the question said no grouping. And clearly, we can see if we choose this table, it's going to be grouping. We can see two separate sections here. Okay, so this one here, there's no grouping. Next. From here, we can add grouping if we've been asked to add grouping. For example, if it wanted us to add grouping based on subject, I can double click on that. And now it's going to group things by subject and have details underneath and then the next subject. But it didn't ask for any grouping, so we can get rid of that. Again, they're ascending, descending. I'm not going to do this at this point here. I'm going to demonstrate what happens if you do it from this section after I finish the report. So I'm just going to go to Next. I want to use landscape. Now I'm going to use the adjust the field width so all fields fit on a page. So it should kind of squash everything together. I'm going to have to adjust it, but let's see if it works out okay and it adds all the fields first. So click on Finish. And straight away from what I can see, if I just go to here, I can see it's not fitting all my fields in. I've got that work experience cut off, but let's just have a look. Yeah, that's right. So it's cut off the work experience, and it did that because it tried to fit everything together. So I'm going to show you a couple of ways that you can fix this in case this does happen to you. I did actually test this before, and I saw that this was going to happen depending on certain conditions. And I didn't just want to do a tutorial where everything works magically for me and you run into problems. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how you can fix this. So first of all, I'm going to show you this particular method, the one method. Then I'm going to show you a second method. So first thing is we need to try and squish and squash everything together to make space for that other field, and at the same time make sure everything is visible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a preview and see I've got plenty of space for the first name, last name. So I'm going to make all of these as tight as possible by selecting, just drawing over them, changing their size, going back and making sure nothing. See, this Anna Gabrielle here is probably cut off. So I'm just going to make it just wide enough so it shows all the data. Gabrielle, there we go. So that's good. Then I'm going to go over to the next one. Now, as I said, this paper is not a nice paper. It is a bit of a mean paper. So let's just see everything here fits. Yep, that looks okay. Let's bring the date of birth. Date of birth is only a small field, so I don't need too much space there. Let's just drag that over. Okay, that fits nicely. Telephone. I'm just going to get one of these telephone numbers so I can see the length. So this one ends in 229, the first one. So I'm going to make this small enough, but just big enough to show the 229. Yep, that's okay. Don't worry about the fields being close together as long as they're not cut off. Then the age. Age is a small number. I just need those field names to show properly. There we go. Duration as well is a small number. So let's have a look. There we go. Now, this particular part of the video, I'm not fast forwarding because it is important you understand how you can actually fit another field in here. Degree code, and that's a small one as well. Okay, that's fine. It's not cutting them. Subject is quite big, so I just need to make this like just large enough to show everything. You see, some of these are being cut off, so let's just bring that over. Just a little bit more bigger. So there's only one that's missing here, and that's work experience. Management, I need a T in there, so it still needs to be expanded a little bit. Okay, all of that fits. So what's missing now? I've got a field missing. So how do I fix this? Well, there's a number of ways. The first method I'm going to show you now, we're going to finish this, and then I'm going to show you a second method of doing this. So if I go to design view now, I'm going to show you the easiest way. I'm just going to select any one of these. I'm just going to select the first name like this. I'm going to Control C to copy, and then Control V to paste. And that just gives me another set here. So I'm just going to drag this over here. Take the little thick or like gray square there, just drag that field up and drag that one up as well. Okay. And then you can see it's made a bit of extra space here. So I'm just going to reduce that so it doesn't take too much space. There we go. Now you're going to say, well, that's not work experience. You're right. It's not. The label I'm going to change to what it should say. So if I'm not sure, I can look at my question paper. It says work underscore experience. So let's just change that. EXP. So that's the field. And if we have a look at that now, you can see, well, it's got the right title, but it's the wrong data. It's got the first name. So now from here, if I click on this one, just let's get the properties up. So if I right click properties, I can see that what it's using in the data part, it's getting the control source first name. So I'm going to change that. Oh, go away. I'm going to change that by clicking on the down arrow and say work experience. Okay, let's have a look. Perfect. But instead of saying yes, no, it says true, false. I want yes, no, because it specifically said yes, no. So for the format, instead of true, false, I'm going to say yes, no. And there we go. That's absolutely fine. It works. Perfect. Does it fit on one single page wide? Well, let's have a look. File, print. We're going to go to preview. Okay, so that's 1 page wide. It's landscape. Page 1 of 2. It's only 2 pages. And that's exactly what it asked for. Now, be careful. If I go back, remember I did this. When I added that new field, it kind of made this field area here a bit bigger. And if you do that, that ends up giving you a bigger gap for each record. And then when you go to print, in the print preview, it's actually going to have more pages. So that's 4 pages. So the reason why is because I made those records a bit taller. So just make sure they're nice and tight. Drag that up. Okay. And then I can go back and check my print preview. 2 pages, pages 1 of 2. Perfect. So I'm going to show you another way. I'm just going to save this very quickly and close it. Then I'm going to come back to it. okay, because we haven't finished with it. But I'm just going to generate that report again. I'm going to show you a second way. So you're going to use any method that you prefer to do this. The second method to do this, to make sure that all the fields are there if one of them is cut off and you want to add it, is this. I'm going to go to Create, Report Wizard, choose my query, add everything. Next, no grouping, no manual grouping. I'm not going to do the sorting now. Next, landscape, and I'm going to remove this. I don't want it to adjust the fields, okay? And then I'm going to go to next and finish. So what this has done, it's using multiple pages wide to fit everything in. So if I just close the print preview, you can see how big this page is. Now, that's not going to work, is it? But it's got my work experience filled in. So what I now need to do is essentially this. I need to go and adjust all of these to make them as tight as possible, just like I did before. No difference. I'm not going to spend too much time on this now. You need to make sure everything's nice and tight. So I'm just going to do this quickly, hopefully. Okay, let's just bring everything all over here. And we want to try and make sure, we're going to keep doing this, and we're going to do this for all of them. I'm just going to make this degree one here small as well. And it should make everything small enough to fit on a single page. Now, I'm not going to be checking this backwards and forwards. You're going to have to go back, make sure everything fits. And then this last one here, that what's in the report footer, you can either move this over. It doesn't matter. You can just get rid of it. Now what I'm going to do, this is my page width. I'm going to click here and just drag that all the way to there. And hopefully this is one landscape wide. If it's not, then it's going to have more than 2 pages, isn't it? So if I just go to View, Print Preview, you can see here, yeah, that's not fitting. Can you see? It's cutting that off. So I just need to squish that in a little bit more. And once I've done that, it's going to fit. You see, it's 4 pages because of that one there. So that's another way of resolving that issue. What is important, guys, so if I just make that subject just a little bit smaller, like that. Again, I'm going to have to go back and check it, make sure it fits, make that page just a little bit narrower. Let's see if that fits now. Okay, so there it is. Now it works. And now it's only 2 pages. Okay, so what's important here is, guys, once you've done your report wizard, you need to make sure all the fields are there. If they're not, then you have to make sure you add that other field using one of the 2 methods that I've showed you just now. So I'm just going to close that, and I'm going to close that. And I'm going to get rid of that report. So I'm just going to stick with the report that I did before. It's exactly the same thing. It has everything and it fits. Okay, so let's continue with this. So we now need to do the ascending and descending. So sorts the data into descending order of degree and ascending order of age, October 24. So how do we do this? I'm going to go to my design view from here. And now at the top, you might already have at the bottom this add group, add sort. If you don't, it's up here. It's got group and sort when you're in the design view. There it is. So I want to add a sort. And the first sort that I want to do is based on degree code ascending. So I'm going to click here, choose the degree code, and I want ascending, going up. So from A to Z. Okay, so that's good with A on top. That's ascending. Then I want to add a secondary sort, and that's going to be using the age. And that has to be, sorry, the degree was descending. So I want that to be, let's just go back to the degree. We want Z on top, so descending. And then for the age, I want smallest to largest, ascending. Okay, so that's that one. Degree on top, degree first with descending, and followed by age with ascending. Let's see what that looks like. So here we've got the degree. It starts with M, then F, then B. So that is descending. and the age is ascending. So these three here, which is the M field, is 25, 26, 58. Okay, so the sorting is correct. So we've done the landscape, we've done that. I think the next step is, since we were on the sorting, I'm going to show you what happens if you do the sorting beforehand. Okay, so I'm just going to do a quick save there. As I said, this is a nasty paper. So I'm just going to save and close that. I'm going to create another report wizard again very quickly. Based on that, next, no grouping, no manual grouping here. I could have done this. I could have said that the degree code here is descending. So change that to descending. And then the age is ascending. And that's fine. That works beautiful. The only thing you have to be careful of now is this. So if I go to next, landscape, and finish, we're going to see that here it's put the degree first and then the age. So the order of my fields has changed. That is a problem if I don't correct it. That basically means that when I'm going to be doing this, I'm going to be moving these around. I also now have to move them around in a way where I need to put everything in the correct order. So I need to drag the first name first, get these out the way, then bring in the last name, and make sure these are all in the correct order. Okay, that's entirely up to you, whichever method you prefer. But what you have to make sure is two things. One, that everything, all the fields are included in your report. Okay, so you've got all the fields and they are in the right order. Which method you prefer for the sorting is up to you. If you don't see all of the fields, like again, I don't see them here, again, that's up to you. You can either copy paste, you can either do it without adjusting the width. I'll show you one more quick method, and that's this one here. I don't like this one, it's a little bit more fiddly. Once you've got the space, in design view, you've got here add existing fields. Okay, and if you click on that, you can see the existing fields. Here's work experience. Double click on it and it adds it. So you can move the field there. You can't get this label at the top, so you just have to delete that one. Adjust this, bring in another label, call it work _ exp. Again, this, when we look at it, it's going to show us yes, no. There it is. Okay, so that's fine. You can use that method. Don't worry if it's got a box around it. That's fine. You can format it and remove it, but you don't have to. So this method will also work. So you've got three methods there. Select one, copy paste. Two, when you're creating the report, do not change the widths of the fields to make it fit. And three, you can add using the existing fields. Okay. And finally, with the ascending and descending, the sorting, you decide when you want to do it. All right, let's close that and we can continue to finish this report. So here's my report up until now. And let's go to our question paper. Okay, so we want to include this here as a heading. And it should be center aligned. So what I'm going to do here is this one up here. I'm just going to extend this to take the full width of the window. Then I'm going to, just like you would normally do, go to home and just center align it. And then I can delete and paste or type what I want. And that just makes sure that it's center aligned because I've extended the box for the whole width of that page. So we've done that one. Font size for margins, displayed in larger font. Okay, uses a calculated control to display at the end of the report only the age of the oldest student. So the maximum. So to do this, just like we would do a total, we're going to right click on the field that we want to get a calculated field on. Right click on it. We're going to go to total. And from here, I want to find the max. Okay. And there it is there. And I'm just going to expand that so you can see the whole calculation because I'm going to need evidence of that. And if I view that now and go to the bottom, it shows me here 58. Okay. Now, if I want it underneath the column, And I just need to modify slightly a little bit. I'm just going to align it so it's on the left, like so. And let's see if that works. There you go. And then I could just move my box a little bit until you get it where it's supposed to be. I think that's good enough. Yeah, that'll be good enough. You can do a little bit more detail. Then it wants a title, a label next to it. And the label is age of older students. So I'm just going to click in here. I'm going to add a label, not a text box. A lot of people ask me why. There's my label. Again, I'm going just to align that to the right. Click on the box, align to the right so it's close to it. And have a look. So age of, now that G is cutting off a little bit. So I'm just going to make sure that's okay. There we go. Perfect. Okay. The reason we don't put a text box, I'll just do one here for you. If I add the text box, it gives you two controls, the label and the control, and it expects the user sometimes at the bottom to write something in here. The purpose of a text box is for you to be able to type things in here. We don't want that. So we can just get rid of that. Okay, has your name, center number, and candidate number in the footer of the report so it appears in the same page, same position on every page. Great. Finally, we finished this one. So that basically means we need to be in the page footer, not the report footer. The report footer, we've got this average thing here because that's at the end of the report. So I always get rid of whatever there is in these placeholders here. I don't want them. I'm going to add a label again. I'm going to put it over here on the right and just put my details. And again, just to make it neat, I'm going to align it to the right, select it, put that to the right. So I'm going to go to print preview and have a look, from here, view, print preview. So 1 page, 2 pages. Oh, I've got 3 pages. Can you see that last one there? So that's not good. So we're just going to go back and I just need to get rid of this report footer here. Just make that a bit smaller. That should now make it fit. So print preview, 1 page, 2 page. That's it, 2 pages. My name is on that page. My name is on that page. And on the report footer, I've got the age of the older student. Okay, the final thing now is to get evidence of my formula, which I use to find the older students. So I'm going to go back to the design view. And there's my formula. Now you need to be careful, guys, that your formula is not cut off like this. You need to make sure you expand this box so that the entire formula shows. You can now take a screenshot. You can put the label in. You don't have to put the label. It's entirely up to you. It really doesn't matter. Even if you've got part of the label, that's fine. So we're just going to go and add that in there. Okay, just save that. And we can now move on. Okay, so the final part here will be to print off your report, and you're basically done with that part of Access. So let's move on. All right, so here we go. We now have, it says, you're now going to create a data entry form. The form will contain a field with a drop-down menu for the user to select an option from the list. Data from the selected option will be stored in a field in the students table. It's not actually telling us which data is going to be stored yet. Number 17, create a columnar data entry form using selected fields from the students table that includes only the fields roll number, all the way up to email in this order with data and labels displayed in full, displays one record at a time. Save the form, placing your evidence document screenshot showing the form with the record, right, and that's 2 marks. So we're only creating a very basic data entry form right now, and that's only 2 marks. So we'll take it. So from Access, we've got everything closed again. We're going to go to Create. We're going to go to Form Wizard. We need to use the students table, it said, and we're going to add from here. It says roll number, first name, last name, gender, DOB, telephone and email. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 items. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Correct. Next. And columnar. Next. Finish. There we go. And that's basically 1 mark. Oh, sorry, 2 marks. So we're going to take a screenshot of that and put that in our evidence document. So we open up our snipping tool, new, take a screenshot of that, make sure the title of that form is there, everything is visible. Go to our evidence document and just throw that in number 17. Great. Okay, let's go to our question paper. Okay, number 18, import the file N2402 country codes.csv as a new table in your database. Set ISO.code as the primary key. So that's got to be the primary. So we're going to import another table here. On the form created in step 17, create a new control using a drop-down menu which lists each ISO code from the country codes table. Place this control between DOB and telephone fields. Then edit the drop-down menu so that. All right, first things first. So what we're going to do, we're going to import this thing here, and then we're going to use the data which is in this table as a drop-down menu or drop-down list inside our data entry form. So let's go baby steps. Let's import the table first. So from here, I'm just going to close everything since I'm not using it. I'm just going to leave that form there. I'm going to go to create, external data, new data source from file, text file, browse. We want the country codes. Again, we're importing from a new data into a new table. Click OK. The limited next. It is not telling us anything about the data types, so we just need to make sure that these are correct. So that's text, and these are all integer numbers. Okay, so if we go to advanced, let's just make sure short text, and long integer. Next, and we want the ISO code as a primary key field. Next, and finish. Okay, so here's my table. Perfect, and we just have a look. There you go. The ISO is the primary key field there. Perfect. Right, so we've done that part. We've imported it. That was the easy part. Now what we need to do is it says we need to use the data from that table and add it as a drop-down list in our data entry form. So what do we need to do? Edit the drop-down menu so that the list displays in ascending alphabetical order. It's going, hang on, it says it's going to list each ISO code from the country code. Okay. The list displays unique values only. Well, that's a bit silly. It's a bit silly because we said that the ISO code is a primary key field. So they're going to be unique anyway. So that's a stupid question. We'll discuss that in a minute. Data entry is limited only to the ISO codes listed. Okay. And then the ISO code selected is stored in the nationality field. Right, let's go do that. So we're going to open our form, go to design view. Now, it wants everything to be between DOB and telephone field. So I'm just going to make this data entry form a little bit longer. Select everything up to telephone and just drag this down so it fits. I've got space in between. Right, so in between, I want to create a drop-down list box. That's my combo box. So form design, we've got the combo box here. We're going to click on that and just draw a combo box. Perfect. Now, in the dialog box, it says, I want the combo box to get the values from another table or query. Yes, I do. I don't want to type the values on my own, so I'm just going to leave the first one. And here you've got different views. You want to find the table. So this only shows you the queries. This shows you both table and queries. So it doesn't matter. I just want to make sure I can see the table. There it is there, country codes. Select it, next. Now, what do I want to include in the list? Well, I want the ISO code. Next, I want ascending order of the ISO code. Next, here it shows you what it looks like. And you can see I've got all the ISO codes here. Next. And where am I going to be storing? So it says here, I want to store the values selected by the user in the nationality field. So I'm going to be storing it in the nationality field there. Next, and finish. So let's see what that looks like before we modify it at all. So there we go, boom, perfect. There's my drop-down list box. Now I need to give that a name. I need to sort this out and then add some settings. So let's have a look. So first thing is I'm just going to make this a little bit bigger so I can write the title. It says country code. No, small letter for code. And now I'm going to show you a little trick. Instead of you taking these gray boxes and just moving them one by one and try to align them, you can just move them up to where you want, let's say up to about there. Now what I'm going to simply click on all of these, drag over these, go to my arrange at the top and just go align left. Just makes everything nice and neat. Do the same here. I can move these up. There you go. Makes it nice and neat. All right. So am I done? No. Why? If I go to my normal view here, if I type here a string of R's and I click down here, it accepts that change. It shouldn't. Okay, it said it should be limited to the list. So if we go back to design view, I'm going to click on this box to see its properties. If the properties isn't there again, you're going to right click on it, properties. Now we can see here in the properties section, if I go to data, we've got all these ones here, data. I've got limit to list, no. I want to change that to yes. Now, if I go here and I try to change that, when I click away, it's not going to let me. So I will press escape there. So I fulfilled that criteria. Let's go see what else we have to do. So I have done the list displays ascending order. Yes. The list displays unique. Well, we're going to look at that in a second. Data entry is limited to only the ISO codes. We've done that. And the ISO code selected is stored in the nationality field. We've done that. So we've got that last one there now. So where is all this information to show evidence? Well, it's right here. If we have a look, by selecting this object here, we can see control source nationality. Perfect. That's one. We've got limit to list. Yes. Perfect. That's two. Now, the ascending order. Well, it's got here ordered by ISO code. That's there as well. Now, what is this unique values? Well, this is a stupid question because the ISO code is a primary key. So it can't have duplicates. It's impossible. It's a primary key. So why did they add it? Well, if it wasn't a primary key and you had multiple entries, you'd want to limit that list. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to demonstrate this to you using a different table and just adding another object so you can understand how this works and then see what it is they expect of you. So what I'm going to do this time, I'm going to save and close this form for now. I'm going to go to create table. I'm just going to create a new table. I'm going to call this, let's say, letters. Table called letters. Here's my design. I'm not going to have a primary key, so I can have different values. Get rid of that. I'm going to call this codes. I'm going to make it short text. Okay. And then when I go to here, save yes, I'm going to add some codes. For example, A, B, B, C, C, D, E, E. So you can see I've got repetition here. I'm going to click on save and close. So essentially, here we imported this table, but we had a primary key, so they're all unique anyway. And here I've just created a new table on my own. Okay, so let's say this is the scenario that they gave you. You imported this and you didn't have a primary key. So I'm going to go to my form. I'm going to go to design view. I'm going to do exactly the same as before. Let's just add a little bit of space at the bottom. I'm going to add a new combo box. I want the combo to come from a table. There it is, letters, next. I want to add codes, next, ascending on codes, next. And look, can you see it's showing me the repetitive values, A, B, B, C, C, D, E. I want the unique ones. So how are we going to fix this? Well, let's just finish this off. Next, I'm not going to store these in a field. I don't want to store them anywhere because I don't want to mess up my database. So I'm just going to leave these for viewing purpose. So just remember the value. Finish. Let's have a quick view. And there we go. We can see we've got the repetitive codes here. So what is it that they want? Well, there's two ways. It's exactly the same way both ways, but one is you need to remember a word. So If I click on this box and I look in the properties area, here is my row source control in the data section. Now, what is it doing? It's saying select letters. Select basically means it's doing a query. Where's the query? So if we simply click on the three dots, it opens that query. Can you see it? And it's showing me what it's going to show, the letters. Now, I want to make sure I've got the properties open. So if I don't have it open, I can simply right click properties. There it is. And now instead of the table, I'm going to click in this gray area. That's the properties for the query. And if we look here, it's got unique values. No. What I'm going to do, I'm going to select that and click yes. Save and then close that. What did this do? Well, now let's look at this select. Can you see that word there? Distinct. It's added that word distinct, and that makes it unique. It's only going to show the unique value. So if I run this now, there you go. Only the unique values are there. If I get rid of it and run that, I get the duplicates as well. So that's basically it. So the second way, I said two ways, is if you can remember that word distinct, then you can just go after the word select and write distinct. And then when you run that, it works. So for the paper, for this question, what they want you to do, although it's, let me just get rid of that one now. For this one here, you just need to go either click on the three dots, make sure the properties open, click in the gray area and go to unique values, yes, save and close. Now, when you do this, look, it's exactly the same because it was a primary key anyway. So you can either do that by going to the query or simply after the word select, type the word distinct, and that's what they're looking for. As I said, a stupid question because it's a primary key anyway. So we can save that, go back to our question paper. So we've now done that one as well. So we've covered all of these. We now need, we've done the label code, country code already. So placing your evidence document, screenshot showing the drop-down menu list. Let's go do that first. So I'm just going to go run that. And I'm going to take, now when I try to do a screenshot here using the snipping tool, it kind of vanishes as soon as I click on the snipping tool. Okay, so that doesn't help, so escape. So what you can do, unless you're using Windows Shift S, you can do this instead. In the snipping tool, just put a little timer, 3 seconds, new. When I expand that, just wait 1, 2, 3, there we go. And I'm going to add that in number 18. Let's just bring 18 down, just put that there. Okay, and then we're going to have some more screenshots here. Then we want the drop-down menu label with the text fully visible. Well, that's fine because that's already contained here. We can see the country code. There's my label. So that's been done. The data entry control, so the only unique values are listed. Limit data entry to the list options and that it's stored in the nationality field. All of that we can find from the design view here. And we want to click on that box. Let's just bring this over here to the left so it fits everything nicely. And I'm going to take a screenshot from here. And I'm going to take, oh, actually, let me just click on that nationality so it's highlighted and then do my screenshot. That highlight just means, just shows the examiner that the properties are for that object. Okay, and then what they're looking for here is this. You can see this part, the nationality, that's where it's storing the data. The word distinct, to make sure it's limited to only those values, no duplicates. Limit to list is yes. So those are the 3 things it's looking for. So I'm going to go here, paste that there. Now this is quite a big screenshot, so I'm just going to do the text wrapping, make it tight, drag that over, and try and use as much of the page width as possible. Make it a bit easier for them to read. Perfect. Now, you could do this in 2 screenshots if you had to. What's important is that the examiner can actually see what you're putting there. Okay, I think the last step for that, yes. So the last step here is use the form edited in step 18 to add the following details. So we're going to add these details and then take a screenshot showing those details in full. All right, so that's pretty easy if you've done the table. So if I click over here, click on save, go to normal, and I'm just going to, now I've got a whole tutorial on creating data entry forms, how to add buttons and make them look user-friendly. You should know how to do that. I'm not going to bother with that here, but this is a really long tutorial. So at the bottom here, you've got this little sun with a little right arrow. I'm going to click on that to go to the next record. And I'm simply going to copy paste this information over here into my table. So this one here is Carlos. Kind of weird. My students many years ago used to call me Carlos for some reason. I'm not going to say the reason why, but that was a name they used to tease me with. Male. The date is 16th Feb 2000. Country code ESP. So you can scroll and bring that in if you want. That way you can actually test it. But anyway, telephone is that. Just make sure you enter this information correctly. And the email is that one. Okay. So, any of my ex-students out there watching these tutorials and you want to share in the comments why you used to call me Carlos, by all means, feel free to do so. Right, so there we go. That's been added. I'm going to take a screenshot of that and put that there. And if you wanted to make sure, let me just add that in here. That's number 19, paste. So to check that, I can go back one record, go forward one record, and there is my data. Perfect. I hope that's it for access. Wow, yes, let's go now to the presentation part. Okay, you're going to create a short presentation. All slides must have a consistent layout and formatting. Create a presentation of 8 slides using that particular file. Unless otherwise instructed, the slides must display a title and bulleted list. So let's go do that now. So first step is I'm going to right-click, New, PowerPoint presentation. I don't need to give it a name. And then from here, I'm going to go to, from the home menu, New Slides. And down here, you got slides from outline. Now, if it doesn't open in your folder, then you can just go and find your folder. And we're looking for the file N2402 climate. There it is. And it should give me 8 slides. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 slides, number 8. And they are all title and bulleted list. Move on. Place in the header automated slide numbers right aligned. Place in the footer your name, center number, and candidate number. Doesn't say where. Make sure that the header and footer appear in the same position on every slide. No items overlap on any slide. Okay. So from here, I'm going to go to View, Slide Master. Go. Remember, I have to go all the way to the top to this very first slide up here, the master slide up here, not one of the sub slides, the other style slides that you've got, the very main one. So it adds it on all of them. So I want in the top right align the number. I always do it like this. It's up to you if you want to do something different. I use a text box. Draw my text box there. And then when I go to my insert here, I've got my slide number, and it puts my slide number there. Then I'm going to put at the bottom, so down here, I'm going to get rid of all these placeholders here. I never use them. And I always add text boxes. I'm just going to put my name bottom right. It doesn't say where, so I'm just going to put my name there, align it to the right. There we go. And if I go to View Normal, everything should be there. Same place for all of them with my page number top right. Okay. So we've done that and done that. Oh, look, 2 marks. Right, on the slide with the consequences of global warming, select the 5 bulleted items after the text, weather, events, after the text with events including, and format them to look like this. Okay, so we want to add these bullet points here. These are indented and they're using a minus sign for a bullet. Okay, so we want consequences of global warming. Now, these ones here are okay, so I want up to there. I'm going to indent them a couple of times. I want them to be italic as well because they are a bit tilted. And we're going to move them in a little bit more, but we'll do that in a minute. So then I want to change the bulleted list there to make it align. So just like before, we're going to click on our bulleted list, drop down list of bullets and numbering. I'm going to customize, and you're just going to look inside here. You can use the wingdings. You can use what you like. Here you go. I've got lines here. I'm just going to choose that one. And just make sure you add that there. Now, it's actually indented quite a bit more. So with these selected, I'm just going to click on that and just drag that like that. Okay, and that looks similar to my question paper. So you can see the T is just nearly under the F or between the gap. It doesn't have to be exact. I could actually move this back just a little bit there. And if I wanted to add a little bit more space between the bullet, I can use that tab stop there. There we go. Okay, number 23, delete the slides with the titles Organic Farming Practices and Carbon Sinks. So let's go do that now. So here we go, Carbon Sinks. Just make sure you click and see the slide that you're deleting. And delete that one. And I want Organic Farming Practices. There we go. And press delete there. That's gone. Okay, let's go back. So we've done number 23, 24. Use the data in the file that to create a pie chart to show the emissions for each economic sector for the year 2020 only. Label the chart with the title that. Format the chart to display only the economic sector names and percentages as chart sector labels. Position these labels outside each sector. Do not display a legend. Enhance the chart display by pulling out the agricultural, forestry, and other land use from the other chart, and then place it. Okay, so we have to create a chart as well. Great. So first thing, we're going to open up the file. Here it is here. So I'm just going to zoom that in a bit, select everything, double click between two columns so we can see all of the columns. And essentially, there's the economic sector there. So these are the economic sectors here. And this is the data for 2020. So the one cheat way, now I've got a tutorial on creating charts in Excel. You have to learn the proper way to create charts. But for this paper too, we want to create this chart quickly. So let's just get on with it. An easy way will be select this, Control C, paste that there, select that, Control C. And I'm saying easy because we don't need to show evidence how we've done this. And we can use this data here. The other way, if you're comfortable with this, you can simply select, hold the Control button and select that one. But the problem with either of these cases right now is when I go to insert my chart, I can see it's using economic sector as a category. And that's because if I delete that, it's seeing this 2020 here as a number and not as a title, let's say, as a category. So what we want to do always, and I explained to you in the other tutorials, we'll get rid of the top left corner. And if we were using this one here like this, we will get rid of that one there and just select that data. Now then, the next step that we're going to do is this. We're going to select that with that blank cell at the top and then this one here. We're going to go to Insert, Pie Chart, and there we go. It's not seeing that title now as a category. Next step, we're going to take the label and just copy the title over, and I'm going to paste that in there. Now, it said no legend. So by clicking on my chart area, I'm going to click on, let me just move that on this side here. Click on that plus sign there. We can get rid of the legend. Great. Let's just make this chart a bit bigger so it's easy for you to see. Now, it wants labels, data labels on the outside. So I'm going to click on the plus sign. I'm going to click on data labels, click on the arrow. I'm going to say on the outside end. Great. Now, I want to modify these because what I want is the economic sectors displayed in a percentage. So I'm going to click on one of these to make sure all of these are selected. Come over here to the properties section and click on the label options. Go to label options. I'm going to remove the value and I'm going to add percentage instead. Now, the leader lines I don't need. I'll show you what they are in a second. So I'm just going to choose the category name. Yeah, category name. There you go. So what are the leader lines? If I pull one of these out, you can see it actually has this little line here and it connects it to it. You can leave them. It doesn't say whether you're going to add them or not, so you're not going to lose marks. So yeah, it doesn't make a difference whether you add them or not. I'm just going to get rid of it. What I am seeing here is, so this electricity one here is overlapping my chart. So I'm just going to click it, just drag it over to the left, could be to the right, but as long as it's near where its sector is. If I had an issue, then I can just add the leader lines to make sure we know what sector is related to that label. Great, I think that's it. Let's have a look. So we've done the label, the economic sector, outside sector, do not display a legend. Yes. So we now need to pull out that sector there and then add it to the industry resources one. Okay. So one little tip. If I want to pull this orange one out, which is the agricultural forestry one here, then if I just click and drag, it pulls all of them. I don't want that. So the trick is this. If you click one time, let go, and then click on the one you want to pull that out, it will only move that one. Let's just move that a bit closer. Good. All right, now I want to paste this in the industry section, and it says it wants it on the left of the list. So I'm going to click to make sure my table is selected, Control C, go to PowerPoint, and I want to go to the industry sources here. I'm going to squash that over there because it wants the chart on the right, on the left, sorry. Go. And I'm just going to make that as big as I can without any overlap. Okay, that looks good. I can move this over a little bit more if I want, just so I can make my chart just a little bit bigger and make sure everything's nice and visible. Now, this part here, which is outside, that's fine. It's not going to show. Oops. Okay, so next part. So I've done the chart, no words are split, the data and labels fully visible, no overlap. Great. Now what we want to do is to place a sun shape on the slide with the title, Consequences of Global Warming. Position this to the right of the 5 bulleted items. It should look like this. So I want that shape there, that one. Resize the sun shape so that it's height and width of 4 centimeters. Edit the shape so that when clicked, slide goes to greenhouse gas emission is displayed. Place in your evidence document a screenshot showing the link from the shape. Wow, okay. So we go back to this slide here, and we want to add a shape. So we're going to go to Insert, Shapes, and in here you should have, so there's not going to be lines, right? Basic shape. There it is, sun. So I'm going to click on that. And now I'm just going to draw it. Now you can use the shift to make sure it draws proportional, but even if you don't and you draw it squashed, it doesn't matter because it says that you have to make it 4 centimeters by 4 centimeters. So with this shape selected at the top, I can see now my size. And even if I was on the wrong one, let's say it's showing this one, when I double click on the shape, it should give me, there you go, the shape format. Now I can change that to 4 centimeters. 4 and 4 cm. Now, if your computer is showing in inches, then all you have to do is just type 4 cm. And then when you enter it, it might change it to inches, but it will be the correct size. I'm just going to move this so it's round about the same position as what it is on the question paper. There we go. Now, I want to make a link. So when you click on this, it goes to this one, greenhouse gas emissions. So I'm going to click, right click on this, link. You get this dialog box. Now, I've got another tutorial on PowerPoint, on presentations, everything you need to know. It covers these. But from here, oh, what did I do? Cancel. right click, link. So you can link to an existing web page or a file. You can link to an email address, but I want to link to a place in this document. So I want it to go to greenhouse gas emissions. Now, I can't use this as my screenshot because it says insert hyperlink here. I'm going to click OK. Then I'm going to edit, right click, edit the link. I'm going to put this down here. And now it says edit hyperlink. Now I can take my screenshot. New. I'm going to take a screenshot which shows my image, which is selected, and the edit hyperlink properties going to that particular file. Great. Now I'm going to put this in my evidence document. Number 29, paste that there. Perfect. Just keep the quick save file, save. Okay, let's go back. Okay, save the presentation, print the full presentation as handouts in portrait orientation with 2 slides to the page, each filling half the page. I think after that we've done. Make sure that your name, center number, candidate number appear on the page. Save your evidence document, print your evidence document. That's it. So let's get this printing out the way. So we've saved that. We're going to go to File. Ooh, click OK. File. Print. Now, here we choose your printer. We're going to do all slides, print all the slides, and we're choosing 2 slides, not full pages. We want 2 slides per page, and we can see here portrait. And that's going to print each slide taking half the page, 3 pages in total, and you will print. And then you will go and print your evidence document. Wow, I told you at the beginning, this is a beast of a paper. This was a mean paper. There's just so much to do. So what's important to take away from this paper? Well, first of all, if you are taking this examination, this is a good paper to learn because it's going to test a lot of your skills. It doesn't test them to a very full extent, but it tests a lot of skills. What was it with that database and the data entry form, adding the drop-down list box and make sure it's only showing the unique values? It was already a primary key field. But what you have to understand from that is, if that's something you're not sure about and it's going to take you time, this is the important thing about practicing past papers. You will be able to know what you're going to cut your losses and move on. That question was 2 marks for the basic data entry form and then 7 marks for doing the drop-down list box and all the properties. If you could do most of it, fine. Don't waste too much time trying to figure out that distinct path. Why? Because you might not have time for something like the PowerPoint, which is always at the end. The PowerPoint in this case was worth 18 marks. The distinct function was worth 1 mark. So you have to be able to move on. Paper 2 is a demanding paper. There's a lot of work to do. The more you get done, the more marks you get. Stop trying to focus on trying to complete everything. If it's difficult, cut it and move on. If you have time at the end, then you can go back and you can try and get those marks as well. Right, so if you like this paper, you enjoyed this paper, you learned something new, you know the drill. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, and most of all, make sure you share with your fellow students so they have access to quality resources to prepare them for their examinations as well. Until the next one, bye-bye.